Hello, you're watching Reckless Speculation, and we've been gone, and we're home. But some things never change. Raj is still not here on time. We don't know. It may be an Indian thing. But who is on time? To my left, right, whichever way that is. This way is Mr. Robbie Davis. After a week off, Robbie,
Hey,
get back.
hey, I'm just glad to see you made it back from what seems to be your 100th vacation this year. It's about time you get into the office and put in some work.
I know it. It's not like I'm an important thing like a lawyer or anything that's got really set powers. Uh, it's not like I can go to the pool at 4:30 because I was late getting back. I don't know. Well, we tell you who has to have good hours. That's construction workers and construction owners. That is Brandon Chang. Welcome, buddy.
Man, I miss you guys. It seems like, we take a week off. It seems like it's been a month. So excited to get back at it, even though it's kind of a slow sports week.
All right, let's do a little test here. Everybody seems a little clear to me. Have you got me or am I scratchy?
Sound good to
You're
me.
cleared up now to me.
I think it's the music, man. I think I'm going to have to dump the music. Well, guys, there's a lot to get through. Not the peak time in sports. It was to the point we were talking about covering Wimbledon, and I think I had to call. Nobody in our audience would even know what Wimbledon was, so we're moving on. But we do want to get to some things that's going on in sports. There's a lot of moving pieces in the NBA, some major news is breaking in the NFL. But I want to start with one thing. Driving in today and last night, I was thinking about the Golden State Warriors have won 4 titles since 2015. And this title, Robbie, correct me when I get through my statement. I'm going to ask you a question. We'll start there. It really feels like this is a Seth Curry title, that it wasn't manufactured, and not even as much as early on I felt like it was Klay Thompson and Seth Curry. Curry. Wrong Curry. I keep wanting to move the right Curry there. But it really feels like this team was homegrown, Curry's team, and now the Golden State Warriors have took a place to be a permanent, let's call it a team of destiny, a legacy, a dynasty. Are the Warriors a dynasty at this point?
Yes, they are. Yeah, I mean, I think it's 4 and 8 or something like that. Yeah,
4,
and so this is
15.
thinking about this question. You got me or no?
Yes, we got you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so thinking about this question, are they a dynasty? Yes, they're a dynasty. But then how do you rank them? And then that was where I got into some confusion about what I thought. And I'm setting, the Celtics, the 10 out of 11 or 11, whatever it was with Russell, setting them off to their own pedestal. Look, they've got it. And so this is kind of your modern NBA. I think this is kind of the what if dynasty, which falls, and they're not done yet, and I'll get to that in a second, but this falls into the what if dynasty with the Jordan Bulls. What if Jordan didn't retire? What does that look like? Or the Lakers of the 2000s. What if Kobe and Shaq could get along? What does that look like? And this kind of feels like the same way. Like, if Draymond doesn't get suspended unnecessarily against the Cavs, they're up 3-1. I think they win that series. And then with these injuries with Clay and Steph, this team could have run off a whole lot more than 4, and they've still got room to go. I mean, they've got owners that are willing to spend. I think they're 150, 200 million over the salary cap, and everyone's kind of locked in, and it's just like, hey, if we keep winning, we'll keep spending, we'll keep paying the luxury tax. And so, yeah, it's a dynasty, and this isn't even a KD thing. Like, they won before him, they got almost unbeatable with him, absent injuries, and then now this is the essentially Curry coming back and being like, my team, I can win on my own, Finals MVP, and let's take it forward.
I do agree with you, and I think the point about Steph is not. I think you were more on what I was trying to say, and you actually called him his right name. But Brandon, Steph Curry has become, and I love the point about the Lakers, Robbie, because in my head, the Lakers win 8, 9, 10 championships if Kobe and Shaq can get along. Brandon, what's the limit to championships for this group?
I mean, that who's to say at this point? They looked pretty daggum good against, a good young Celtics team. It was a war of attrition, and they won that. And, Steph put the team on his back when he needed to. Even when he wasn't hitting shots, I mean, he was affecting the game, passing. And look, they've got some really good young talent coming up in Wiggins and Poole. So
and
these guys are going to be good, and Wiseman as well. I mean, they're really starting to kind of stack the deck, and these young players are flourishing, through all the attention on, your Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. So, sky's the limit here. I really think they've got a good 4 or 5 years left of solid competitive play. And who knows?
One of the beautiful things that happened to them, just kind of out of luck, is they won a lot, and then when they had injuries, everyone got hurt, and so they sucked, and they got really good draft picks, and the nucleus stayed together. And in today's NBA, with the drama of those players, the fact that Steph and Klay like each other, and Draymond's kind of his own, beats his own drum, but they don't hate him, I don't think. That's a huge factor. Look at Kyrie and KD. Like, no one wanted Kyrie. Like, how can no team want a talent like that?
I think he's just too selfish, in my opinion. But, another point that I want to make with the Warriors, I think a lot hinges, especially on the defensive side, with Draymond and how long he can keep it up and play. He just affects the game just with his attitude. And also, I mean, he played a fantastic series on the defensive side, and even had a game, I think, with 8 or 10 points or something, which is super unlike him. But I think that's a big hinge factor as well. You're not going to find a Draymond Green, in the draft. So.
And you got to feel like Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, I don't know that they found their best basketball yet. I'm not sure Jordan Poole's found his best basketball. Mm-hmm. So I'm a Lakers fan to ask him the same question about Shaq and Kobe. If they could have coexisted, Raj, how many titles would Shaq and Kobe want?
That's a great question. And first of all, I'm at a hotel room in Morristown, Tennessee. So forgive me, internet blows.
We heard you've got mail when you logged in. You were so slow.
It's impossible to say, in my opinion. The NBA is so different. If you played the rules in the 80s, then the Lakers would probably beat everyone aside from Shaq and Kobe. They would kill this Golden State team. If you played today's rules, then how would the Lakers, Brian Shaw, Ron Harper, other guards? I mean, Kobe could D up Steph Curry, but overall, to answer your question, I think they could have won, 2 or 3 more. But, remember Kobe, they retooled, and when they got Powell, thank you, Memphis, he won 2 more. So it was very impressive of him to transition there, to go from one superstar to more of a team championship. So Yeah. Quickly, as a Laker fan, long time, early 80s, at first I was competitive with Golden State. Like, oh, man, they only have one of these. This isn't a dynasty, blah, blah, blah. Now it's just like, fudge. Like, this is a total dynasty. I'm sure you guys went over everything. One thing I wanted to discuss, and well, first of all, I respect this team tremendously more because of how, like Randall said, they built it from within. Wiseman, I think, will be a trade piece, but Jordan Poole became sensational. Gary Payton, the third sensational defender. And then you've got multiple coaches on one team. The best coach in the NBA, and Steve Kerr, who I love. You got Iggy, you got Steph, and you got Dre. I mean, you got like 4 or 5 dudes and Klay Thompson that know the league. They're veterans, and they've always signed veterans. Going back to Barbosa, Sean Livingston, like I said, Iggy. They have the right formula, and they are ridiculous.
Robbie,
and just to touch on your point, Raj, about how you want to hate them, but they're not hateable. They're just not. Like, Grant Williams has been my favorite athlete in the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years. I love that guy, and I wanted him to win so bad, but I wasn't upset when the Warriors won. Like, they're just not a hateable team.
I did hate them, though, when they got Durant. Like, it was so beautiful when they didn't win the championship, when they sort of, I'm not going to say bought it because I'm a Laker fan. We buy everything. But I didn't like that team at all. The team that had the most successful regular season and NBA postseason record. They swept everybody except one loss in the finals, 16-1. I hated that team just because it was like not right and not fair, and Durant was a sellout. But you're right. Nowadays, I hate the style of basketball, but they are so well coached and they are so good that, this team went 15-50 2 years ago because of the injuries. They win a championship 2 years later. I mean, just it goes to show the structure of the organization and how so little has changed, and, the pillars, and gosh, just a brilliant franchise. And can't hate them right now because they're too good to hate.
All right, and a number answer, everybody. I'm going to go around. Steph's 34. Draymond's 32. Clay's 32. How many more years is this window open, Robbie Davis?
I can't believe Clay's the oldest of that group. I mean,
Nope.
sorry, Steph's the oldest.
I know. It's crazy.
Windows open for 4 more years, I bet. And they'll get to 6.
All right, Brendan Chang.
Yeah, like I said before, I think 4 to 5. 5 might be pushing it, but I could, if they win 2 more, I could see them all pushing to go to 5. But yeah, I don't see how they don't win 6.
Same question, Raj, and we'll move on to NBA free agent.
Yeah, it's going to be more because none of those 3 are moving. They're not going to sign anywhere else. They created that franchise. They're going to retire with that franchise. So as long as they're healthy and the NBA lets people shoot from 40 feet and Steph Curry is alive, they're going to keep winning.
Hey, if you're rich, you're young, you live in San Fran, there's nothing wrong with that.
And
I think
worth $200 million.
Those core 3, if need be, will restructure contracts to make room.
Oh, yeah,
pieces.
absolutely.
They're some of the most selfless players for sure.
So I want to move on to free agency. We had a trade right before the show started, and I want to talk.
I don't know why I take notes.
Want to talk about the Atlanta Hawks making a trade in free agency right before we moved on. And if you read the notes, I said we're going to move free agency up so we can get Freddie in the backside. The Hawks basically sell out their franchise future to make a trade for San Antonio with Murray, giving up, getting him out of free agency where he had been a restricted free agency. The Hawks give up 3 first-round picks, a couple of players. The Atlanta Hawks has been the one team, I think, it's a mystery to me, and I am a Hawks fan, in free agency, how they come up zero every year in a city that is very African American friendly, very R&B rap friendly, has the nickname, for a lack of a better word, of Africa of Hollywood, African American Hollywood. Atlanta now seems they have a backcourt of the 25 years old, and they've got them signed, I guess, now with this move for a while. Do the Hawks make another move, Robbie? Can they become contenders? Trey Young, Curry.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see what they're trying to do. I mean, it's a copycat league, copycat profession. They look at what Golden State's doing. They're trying to say, all right, the Celtics are going big and tough. We're going to have to go out. Not that the Hawks and the Celtics were competitors this year, but the Celtics, made it to the finals. So we're going to go out, spread them out, shoot over them. I mean, they have to do something, right? So, yeah, I mean, giving up draft picks, they gave up a lot, but it's a league that the draft picks don't matter because they're all young kids coming in. And so you don't know it's just a crapshoot. Like, Raj mentioned earlier, Wiseman, the top 3 overall picks, just a trade piece. Like, it just doesn't matter. Pick them, trade them. However, there's only generational talents that come out every so often. And so I like the move for Atlanta. Get Trey Young some help. You give up Gallinaro.
Yeah,
that's his name.
And Gallinaro,
NBA, boom,
first round pick that, but actually is the Hornets' first round pick. The Hawks will retain their first round pick, then give up in 25 and 27.
The Hawks were in the Eastern Conference Finals, last year or before the bubble year? I'm having problems with years. Last year. So they're on the cusp. They can get hot and win it. So I like the move.
All right, another big news breaking right before we come on the air. James Harden basically turns down $47 million, says he's going to renegotiate with 76ers and stay in Philly, but he's doing it to free up salary cap so Philly can go for it. Do you buy that James Harden now all of a sudden is the ultimate teammate and is passing up on $50 million to win an NBA title in Philly?
2 words, hell no.
Yeah, but I just didn't want to be the guy to say it, but go ahead.
No, I mean, it is surprising. I think there's also a sense that, and he knows it too, he's not worth that anymore. He's just a scorer. He's never won anything big. He gets the worst foul calls ever. But, yeah, I mean, Philly obviously needs many more pieces. And so I'm sure it'll be a cap-friendly restructure, but I'm sure it'll also be a James Harden-friendly deal as well.
All right, over to the chain real fast, and then I'm gonna let you guys just kind of give your overview of free agency in the next round. Shane, going through the list, the one guy that just jumps out to me that is a difference maker was Zach Levine. Is he a guy? And maybe you all can touch on this too. Is he a guy that a team can add that instantly brings them a title, or is he just a piece?
I wouldn't go as far as instantly bringing a title. I think he's a major piece in, a role of 2 or 3. You got to look at the NBA and how it's structured now in the winning teams. I mean, there's always 2 or 3 big dogs on that team that run it. So, he could definitely be a piece to help, but I mean, he's not going to be a guy that brings it in and wins it himself. What's up? What are you laughing at, bro?
All right, Robbie Davis, same question.
I echo what Brandon said completely. He's a piece that can be brought in. I realized he played for the Bulls today, so I haven't seen the Chicago Bulls play in about 5 years.
All right, that's fair enough. Rod, let's start with you though. There's some people out there besides him Bill's out there, a couple of other guys. Of who's available on the free agent market, I sent a list out. I don't know if everybody saw
Bill
it.
did opt out today.
Do what?
Bill opted out today.
Bill
I saw
did
that.
today. If you are the GM of the Los Angeles Lakers, okay, and also we got to get your comments on the Westbrook situation too. So, the Westbrook situation, who's the one guy outside of Westbrook that you're going to go get?
Well, we already got Westbrook. That worked out really well. And real quick, Zach Levine, former UCLA Bruin, hell of a player. Last year 24-5, something like that. His issue has always been health. He's kind of a slight frame. He's a 6'5" guy, but he plays really hard on both ends now, and he seems to always get injured. He is a nice piece. Kyrie would be nice to have, but with Russ, taking his option, $47 million. I don't know how that happens. The Lakers don't have any capital at all, really. A few trade exceptions, and a bunch of guys like Carmelo and Malik Monk coming off the books. But they are the opposite of Golden State in terms of where the franchise is. Granted, I still call it a title. It was a title. We got it 2 years ago, so it's worth it to me. But you're going to see New Orleans really reap the benefits of those trades. And, like you guys said, it's a copycat league. Atlanta now has their, with Trey and DeJounte, they now have their Clay and Steph, or, poor man's version. And that seems to be the winning formula. And the Lakers are the antithesis of that. Overall, answering your question, Bradley Beal would be a nice piece anywhere just because of his range and what he can do to open up the floor. And, the guy Jalen Brunson from Dallas, he's really the guy that I think he can help deliver a championship on the right team. Villanova kid, supposedly he's going to go to the Knicks. Cuban already has an insurance plan, but and don't forget DeAndre Ayton is out there too. And, undercover story, John Wall is opting out, and he's already said he's signing with the Clippers, which, if healthy, they'd have Kawhi, Paul George, and John Wall.
If healthy is a big word, though.
Yeah, it is. But whoa. So, they're star players, but overall, Levine, but Brunson would probably be my guy, and DeAndre Ayton. Those two guys can really change the right team.
Shane, the one name I do not hear active in free agency is the Memphis Grizzlies, and you've got a generational talent in Ja Morant. Do they not have? I don't think they have the salary cap space to go add a huge piece, but don't you at least got to try to add some pieces around Ja?
Yeah, definitely. You saw what they did this year. They just kind of ran out of gas there towards the end, but watching Ja, he's a superstar highlight reel every time he plays. He's got to have some help. They've got to do something. I don't know what it is. Again, like I said, this league now is made in pairs or triplets of dominant teams, and you've got to follow that recipe or you'll get left behind.
All right, Robbie Davis can't get adjusted to the new office. Still trying to find all of his plugins for multiple screens. You are the GM for the Memphis Grizzlies. Who do you have?
Well, I'm intrigued to see. I don't do anything yet because one, you have one of the easily the top 10 players in the league. I think you stole Kennedy Chandler in the draft. I want to see how they mold together and see how they play off of each other. Look, this is a dangerous team. And so I want to see I can't remember who they drafted in the first round because I was so obsessed with where Kennedy went. But no, they've got some young talent. I don't do anything yet. I sit back. I see I let teams panic and copy the Warriors and see and let see what fits in your lap. I don't make any moves right now.
Raj, I do have, and I'm going to ask one as a homer. Good point, Robbie. I think you do. I am a Hawks fan, and
We'll fix this.
right now the Hawks are sitting there with the two guards that are both all NBA type players. They still have a 24-year-old John Collins they're talking about trading. DeAndre Hunter is on this team. If you have a 24-year-old John Collins who's not a giveaway player, as I understand, the Hawks are looking for not a huge 3-pick package for him, but, maybe a return of a first and a player if John Collins gets out of Atlanta. You have got to build your roster now around those two guards. Is John Collins a piece that even you as a Laker fan would be interested in bringing in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you said, now injuries have affected the kid, but, he's ideal power forward this day and age. He can shoot, rebound. He's got pretty good vision. The thing is, though, in addition to DeAndre Hunter, don't forget they have former USC Trojan big man Onyeka Okongwu, who's a sensational player. If you give him PT, you will see what he can do. He has more talent than John Collins, in my opinion. He will become a good player. And quickly, Memphis did trade my boy, former USC Trojan DeAnthony Melton, a great two-way player, to Philly, and they got the draft rights to David Roddy, the bruising dude from Colorado State, and they got Danny Green, good old Danny Green. But, yeah, I mean, if you can get almost anybody's tradable except for, those top 10 guys in the NBA, as Robbie said. And John Collins is not a top 10 guy. So if you can get the right pieces, you get 2 or 3 pieces and get, a pick back, I'd do it.
Guys, I have one more shocking thing to say, and then we're going to move on to the NFL. Clint Capella is still only 28 years old. What? I would give you 35 on Clint Capella minimum. I mean, he been in the league since he was 12?
I thought he was. Are you sure those numbers they should be transposed like he's 82?
It could be, but I'm
it's
with.
Like Luka Doncic is 24, and I mean he's been in the league for 15 years. It seems like.
Yeah,
Doncic, an Atlanta Hawk for about 15 minutes. Thank you.
Well, like the NBA especially, it's like they've been playing round the clock since COVID. It's like they played like 3 years in the span of like 2.5 or 2 years. I'm like, it's always NBA season.
I read that the 76er had reported to minicamp on May the 12th. I'm like, had the finals wrapped up by then, or All right, guys, we got to move on. We changed the order a little bit, trying to get something in on the end of the show, but this was posted just before I came on, and I thought we needed to move it up in the show. We need to talk about it. Let me see if my little there it is. What are y'all laughing at?
This was supposed to already be the second topic.
I gave y'all this already. We moved up so we could get Freddie Freeman in.
Hey.
The NFL insists on an indefinite suspension for Deshaun Watson as the hearing continues. Some wording there, Robbie. The one thing, as an attorney, as I understand it, if he does receive this indefinite suspension, his contract is guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read the contract, obviously. That's my understanding from reporting. So this case got a little more interesting. So he settled with 20 of the females out of the 24. So there's 4 left. So what does this do for their case, right? So as somebody who represents plaintiffs, this makes me nervous if I'm representing those 4 girls. And the reason why being that all of a sudden, because this is not an impartial jury you're going from. This is national news. This is out there. So all of a sudden, you're representing the 4. And look, everyone knows my views. or at least everyone watches the shows knows my views. I'm very liberal and very pro plaintiff and very pro victim. But what I'm about to tell you what juries think. So juries are going to think, why did these 4 not settle when the other 20 did? They're being the greedy ones. They're the ones that won't take the money that the other ones got to settle everything. These are the people we hate, the greedy plaintiffs. So
good point.
I think this hurts their case moving forward. I understand what the attorney's trying to do, put pressure on them. But look, the facts are the facts. And Deshaun Watson's going to have to sit for an interview. What I don't know, and so because although you think he did not get indicted, you can re-indict off of new evidence. So with these NFL interviews, he is going to have to take the Fifth Amendment on these cases that he settled because they're confidential settlements. So one, it violates the terms of the settlement, and it could still incriminate him. So the NFL has no choice right now but to say it's indefinite. We can't make a decision right now because we can't have egg on our face. We don't want a situation where we suspended Ray Rice for 2 games, something came out, and then, oh my gosh, he's out of the league for the rest of his life. So I don't know if this is true or not, any of it, obviously. But as far as a legal standpoint, I think all the way around, I think the NFL has no choice but to suspend indefinitely still. He's going to get paid $1 million this year, and then that huge number comes in next year. Raj, you're also an attorney. What do you think?
It's fully guaranteed, first of all.
Yeah.
Which is
but it's staggering. It's only $1 million this year.
Yeah, and then for the remaining, what is it, 199 million or whatever over 5 years, or 230. Yeah,
million.
Good Lord. The NFLPA is very excited about this, and for good reason. This could be a precedent. It is a precedent-setting contract. You wonder what veterans are going to get in the future. Started with Kirk Cousins a few years ago. And he actually played it out pretty well. But this is insane. I look to a guy like Trevor Bauer for the Dodgers, who all charges were dropped, et cetera, et cetera. MLB still suspended him for 2 years. Obviously, where there's smoke, there's fire in that situation. I think it's pretty clear the same is true for Deshaun Watson. The NFL was one of the first leagues. I mean, we should all have been this way, but to kind of recognize and put forth or put a spotlight on the evils of domestic violence. And it's obvious that something happened here. So I think he's going to get hammered. And maybe that was the play, like get a huge contract, goes to Cleveland. It's hard to suspend him for 2 or 3 years, but if Bauer got what he got, Watson has 24, or pending, well, now 4, but I would, different league, but I'd give him a full year at least.
And guys, but I don't think they're happy with a year. And I also, Robbie, will come back up to you. I think this has something to do with the Haslam ownership in the NFL is not the most popular one. To your point, Raj, we'll go to Chain. Would you be surprised if it's 2 or 3 years? I agree with you. I think it should be greater than 1 year.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all. I mean, 1 year, I think, is the minimum at this point. I think they're waiting to kind of see how everything else shakes out. Personally, with this much allegation, and like Raj said, there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, I don't see less than a 2-year minimum. And, again, the Browns find themselves upside down on another acquisition that they just can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robbie.
And so this is the backdoor conversations, right? That may be happening or should be happening or would be happening if I was an owner. Jimmy Haslam, you just screwed up the entire structure of the NFL contracts.
Agree.
And hey, Roger Goodell, on behalf of the rest of our owners, we think he screwed all this up. And if you want to punish him to the depths of hell, then go ahead and do so. If you want to give this guy a 5-year suspension and make him pay $45 million a year for the next 5 years on a player that can't play, let him do that so we can show this is why fully guaranteed contracts don't work. And they're all thinking this because
absolutely,
they're all terrified. Like, you just gave a guy facing suspension a fully guaranteed, which has never been done in the history of the NFL, a $280 million fully guaranteed contract. What do you think Lamar Jackson's thinking? If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm going, hey, that $500 million contract I just signed, I'm tearing that thing up. I want it all guaranteed. And
moreover, it tells you got carte blanche, right? Like, you do act with impunity.
Yeah,
the guy
I guarantee you all the owners are ready to pound the Haslams. They all dislike him for this contract. This was the worst precedent for this situation. Even it's one thing if you have Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, but you got a guy that's like, you're about to be suspended.
Would it be worse? I mean, it's horrible, and basically you can still get paid if you abuse women. Would it be worse if he didn't get paid for 2 years but was allowed to play?
Interesting.
Well, hey, what about this? The salary goes to every alleged victim.
Hell yeah.
That would be a good PR move. Like, if there's any credible evidence that those women he settled with, yeah, your salary is divided between those 20 women.
I'm with that.
I like that.
I like that, and I wish my lights would stay on. Sorry about that.
Everyone has a new office day.
Train coming through.
Hold on, I'm gonna go. I'll be right back.
Roger, it's got to be mentioned. All of a sudden now, it seems like the Browns and Baker Mayfield are making nice in public. If you're Baker Mayfield, are they any way to salvage this relationship with the Cleveland Browns?
I mean, talk about having leverage. You know, we'll obviously see what's going to happen once the suspension comes down. But no, I mean, they told their first-round pick and future of the franchise they don't want him. They traded the future of the franchise, again, for a guy who they don't even know if he's going to play. What's that tell you? There better be something dirty under the table going on, because Baker, for him to stay, there better be something pretty sweet. I don't know, no trade clause. I have no idea. But obviously Cleveland's desperate now, and they're about to be. So it's a pretty ugly situation. It's been Haslammed up, and I don't see it. No, I really don't.
Shane, could you have $100 million wrapped up in 2 quarterbacks in Cleveland for the next 2 years or 3 years? It's popular. It's possible.
It is possible, but it's, no way sustainable. The salary cap's already squeezed this year. Yes, it'll probably go up next year, but not at that rate. Not if you got to pay, 45 or 50, whatever how many millions of dollars they got to pay Deshaun next year, and if they keep Baker on the roster, I don't know what he's due, but I'm sure it's 20s, mid-20s. It's too much, and I did read something, or again, reckless speculation about talks of maybe Garoppolo or something coming over to Cleveland, some kind of trade there. But this is like a divorced couple trying to live under the same roof.
A good example.
Nice.
It's like they're going to stay in separate rooms, but they're going to sit at the dinner table together, and it's just a recipe for disaster here. So even if he does start and plays, I mean, they win maybe 5 games this year.
They do have Jacoby Brissett as a third option, and that's a hell of a lot better than like Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh. So it's not as bad as one may think, but I think Josh Dobbs may be on that team too.
But this is a team we were talking about as a Super Bowl contender 18 months ago.
Well, you look at, where does Baker fit well? I mean, people's kind of seen his ups and downs in person. Is he going to become this other journeyman, kind of Alex Smith, if you will?
In my mind, yes.
Yes.
Hold on, my headphones.
So in the right situation, Randall, I mean, Rob, you guys think he can win? Smith, when he went to San Francisco, right team around him, right coach, Baker Mayfield could win a championship or at least get to the conference finals?
I don't know about a championship. He could take a team to the playoffs. Like, honestly, I think he could. I would have liked to see him go to Atlanta and see what he could have done there.
Let me ask you this.
That's good.
Ryan Tannehill or Baker Mayfield?
Oh, Tannehill.
All day, right?
That's a tough call, dude.
Outside of the Titans, guys, I'm going to tell you that's number 15 and number 25.
If y'all look at the record and the stats that Tannehill puts up,
time to mix it up. Tannehill's not a winner. Stats are one thing, but
yeah, I mean,
Tannehill's never going to take you there.
But I'm saying
Tannehill's been in the AFC Championship game.
If you have
congratulations
here, would you take Baker Mayfield or Tannehill?
How's Derek Carr doing?
Oh, I don't like Derek Carr either. Ooh, burn. I'm not Derek Carr blah, but I mean that's a tough call, dude. It's a tough call.
I have no doubt I have Ryan Tannehill over Baker Mayfield, but the thing that Ryan Tannehill at one point in his career was Baker Mayfield. I guess that is my point to this. And was it coaching or was it Ryan Tannehill that got him out of Miami?
Well, I'll stop being a Tannehill apologist for a second. Not every quarterback has Derrick Henry, which opens up everything.
Like, agreed.
Yeah, so you give some mediocre quarterbacks Derrick Henry, and that will open up the passing game.
And Baker Mayfield has Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
Who's Henry even combined, but two pretty good backs.
Yeah.
Two pretty good backs. Well, this is a story I'm sure we'll come back to, but I want to move on because I do want to get to what Robbie brought up about Freddie Freeman. Let's talk, though. Let's finish our last subject on the NFL. There's a lot of big stories going on that I'm sure as the year goes around that we will be bringing up and we'll be discussing. But we laid out a few of them. Let me get my notes up now. Actually talk about it. We laid out a couple of scenarios that I want to go through. And I just want you to pick out one of them and discuss it. At your level of excitement, what are you more anxious to see? What quarterback, being Wentz, Ryan, Mariota, can succeed with his new franchise and possibly make the playoffs? Devonte Adams versus Aaron Rodgers. At the end of the year, who's the winner in that situation? Will you be watching? The Steelers. It's a new era. Do you realize how long Big Ben's been there as their quarterback? Is the Steelers what's going to hold your attention? And another option in San Francisco, and this is mine, and I'll start here. Trey Lance versus Jimmy G starts at quarterback. I do not believe Jimmy G will be there. And, nationally, the 49ers, even on this show, has been killed for trading for Trey Lance. All indication is that San Francisco is prepared to turn that offense over to Trey Lance. And I think if Trey Lance don't derail the 49ers, they are a Super Bowl contender. So of those four stories, the one that I'm going to follow the closest, can Trey Lance in year 2 be Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes saw the field in one game his rookie year. Now you've got Trey Lance through a similar situation, taking on a pretty good roster. You got Debo, you got Ayuk, you've got a great tight end, you've got multiple young running backs, you've got a good defense. If there's one guy that can step in, and if he can play B-, B-level quarterback, the San Francisco 49ers can make the Super Bowl. Robbie Davis, with those 4 stories, what has your attention?
Well, I am glad you brought up Patrick Mahomes because what the 49ers are asking Trey Lance to be is Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely.
And so what I mean, and let me just break down some numbers. I think in my evaluation of college quarterbacks, the most important thing you have to be able to do is complete the football, because the windows in college and those rules in college get shrunk down so much that if you can't complete it in college, you cannot complete it in the NFL. So for college, in his career, Trey Lance is a 65.4% completion percentage passer. I like to rate people at 70. That's kind of the mark of I think they're going to be good or bad. So some benchmarks: Tua 69.3, Kyler Murray 67.4, Joe Burrow 68.8. Even Hendon Hooker right now is at 68%. So he's below all of those. But on the other side of the argument, Patrick Mahomes was 63.5. So he was worse than Trey Lance. So that's what you're hoping for, is a guy that's not great but has talent in college that can switch it on the next level. How many of those are there? Not a lot. So you're looking for another unicorn. I said it was a stupid pick on the day of the draft. I think it's still stupid. If I was San Francisco, I would not trade Garoppolo.
That is 2 of us with the same story. And I can't imagine Raj Mehta is not going to have the Devonte Adams story. But go ahead, Raj Mehta. What is your storyline of the 4?
Yeah, I mean, Devonte, I think Rodgers definitely got the short end of this, but I'm happy. Devonte played college ball with Derek Carr. You know, the Raiders were a playoff team, so I'm very excited about that. Can't wait to see him play, and he's already a god in Vegas. But, yeah, I don't know if that's the top storyline. You know, we also talked about, and sorry, I was reading something that, you know, Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz going to DC, and Matt Ryan, of course, going to Indy. Pretty crazy stuff. And, you know, which of those 3 teams, I mean, everybody I think is going to say Russ because of Denver receivers, offensive line, and defense. But, you know, there was a lot going on this offseason. And, of course, I think it was mentioned, Tyreek Hill now is going to be catching the ball from Tua and not the best quarterback in the NFL. So is that a delicate situation that could implode?
And me, as a Matt Ryan truther or loyalist, all the criticism ever given at him in Atlanta, he has a chance to bury it. So to me, that new quarterback in new place, I think it's Russ and then Matt Ryan that holds my attention. I think Russ, I have thought for the last 5 years, Russ is elite playing with not elite talent. So Russ, we saw what Russ could be early in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Chain, the floor is yours, sir. Which of these stories hold your attention? And your mic is muted. Let me unmute you remotely.
Sorry, I got it.
All right.
I'm going to stick with the AFC South and Matt Ryan here. They're favored to win the AFC South right now. I think they're minus 125. It's not a tough division, and you know they're one piece away quarterback from winning the division or getting, at least in the playoffs. So I'm anxious to see how this plays out. I think right now, even being a Titans fan, I'm pretty nervous about, Matt Ryan acquisition. I mean, their defense is, probably top 3 in the league right now. And they've got the probably top 2 running back in the league right now. And it's, you can run the ball and you give Matt Ryan a little time with that offensive line. They're going to be hard to deal with. So I'm anxious to see that. Now, if they did win the AFC, I don't know how far they go after that, but yeah, I'm anxious to see how this year plays out.
Brandon, I agree. My note said Matt Ryan. It's a 1-team division. If they can win in Nashville, they're getting a home playoff game, maybe a 2 seed. I mean,
easy road.
Yeah. So the AFC South depends on who the Titans and Colts. If someone wins on the other team's turf, that's going to be at least a contender for the AFC Championship because of just the road to get there.
Yep. Totally agree.
Agreed. And, we brought this topic up, and over the next 8 weeks prior, and I think starting next week, if we start, we can cover each division leading up to the start of the NFL season. So kind of a prelude to the NFL season. I'm super excited about the NFL season, and I'm super stoked, Robbie. There's so many storylines this year as this illustrates.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here thinking, as we always have our just instinct thoughts, like, the NFL's king and all this and blah, blah, blah. Well, once we started doing this show, it really comes to fruition.
It does.
How much the NFL is king. And look, they're about a month and a half, maybe 2 months from ruling the entire sports calendar. Like, they're taking over everything. Like, yeah, it's like right now we're like, our sheet's half NFL, and it's the end of June. It doesn't start that's, and I know you guys are all purist baseball, and we love basketball. But nothing drives the needle. Even college football, I always kind of thought there was NFL. College football was kind of close. No, it's a Grand Canyon gap.
Nothing drives the needle like NFL, gambling, and fantasy sports. There is nothing in the sports world that is equal what DraftKings is and gambling on NFL Sunday. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say this is one of the busiest off seasons of the NFL that I can remember in quite some time. I mean, just all the trade moves and acquisitions and, what all's going on. I mean, it's been nonstop on sport. The NFL shouldn't even hardly be talking. They haven't even made it to mandatory camp yet. I mean, they just got through mini camp,
Yeah.
And it is headlines even on TV. I mean, it's incredible. So I don't see it going anywhere. I really don't see anyone challenging that. You realize how quickly we stopped talking about the USFL after the first week.
Oh, God. Yeah, right.
What a disaster.
It was horrible. And next year we're going to have the XFL and maybe it's better.
Hey, the XFL, I mean, they're already signing big contracts. So, I mean, we'll see what happens there.
The being associated with them helps.
Of course. But, they signed with Amazon and somebody else.
All right. Just kicked a hole into the show for about a 5-minute discussion. And I want to make clear, now, Raj is a Dodger fan. I'm a Brave fan. This has nothing to do with the Dodgers and the Braves. This is, to me, about Freddie Freeman and his contract. Well, I guess it does have something to do with the Braves. the failed contract negotiation between the Braves and Freddie Freeman. And not that Freddie Freeman isn't going to win championships in the LA, probably will. Not that the Dodgers are not playing Freddie Freeman very well, they are. Not that Freddie Freeman will not be happy at home playing for the Dodgers. Not the point of the conversation. The point is, from the Braves side of this negotiation, early on, the bitterness kind of came out. Statements were made. Freddie replied in his press conference. Freddie comes home to Atlanta yesterday or last week. Very emotional. Got to admit, for me, it was more emotional than I thought it was going to be during his ring presentation and him talking about what they accomplished together. Today, Freddie makes a move, or yesterday, to fire his representation and become self-representative. Now, also, my first thought was he's 32 years old. He has a 6-year or a 5-year deal, whatever it is. Does he really need representation anymore? But, Robbie, something never tasted right with this. And I don't know if the Braves failed Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman's representation failed Freddie Freeman. Or the fans are just making more of it than it is. But there seems to be a story to this, and it doesn't go away.
So this is me reading the tea leaves. I think that Freddie Freeman's agent, who saw big money somewhere, whether it's Atlanta or LA or anywhere else, saw big money. This is the last contract maybe he's going to get. And so he played hardball with the Braves. This is what I've read. This is not any firsthand knowledge. He played hardball with the Braves and said, "This is our deadline. You've got to meet this contract, or we're walking." And the Braves got approached with a deal with Olsen and said, "Well, if that's our deadline and we can't meet that, then we're going to go with Olsen." And that's what they did. And I don't think it was fully understood by Freeman until he got back to Atlanta and started talking to people during this kind of World Series kind of, handshakes and "I'm sorry I can't be here anymore," and just kind of a sadness overall. And then I think that's when the truth came out, and that's why Freeman was pissed and upset, is that he could have still be there. Like, and this is no shot at the Dodgers. He's in a great position, great city.
Not a shot. Because Raj is a Dodger fan. I'm not trying to take a shot.
Yeah, but I mean, Freddie clearly wanted to stay in Atlanta. And I think this was an overzealous agent, allegedly. And then he just didn't tell his client what had to be told. And now, if the said agent is an attorney, then you have an obligation, unless there's something in writing, to tell your clients of every demand offer that's been made. But I don't know the entails of that, and I also don't know, what state these people are licensed in or whatever. But overall, it just seems bad for Freddie in a position where it's the one thing, like, don't try to be happier than happy. Don't chase the money. And it seems like his agent chased the money and he necessarily didn't want to.
Raj, again, Jesus, my lights. Sorry. Again, this is not Dodgers.
Hey, if everyone will subscribe and rate the podcast, we can help Randall pay the bills.
Yeah, I really am having light trouble tonight.
You never installed that clapper, Randall.
Yeah.
So, I should never been this old. Rod, while I work on my lights, I do believe Freddie's happy in LA, but I think Robbie makes the point that negotiations did not go the way that he perceived they went. And that's a lot of trust with an agent client in these talks. And Freddie, to me, seems like a guy that would go, you represent me. I'm going to put my total trust in you. Now, did he come out good? Is he on a great team? Is he in a great city? Is he 20 minutes away from where he grew up? All that is true. But the move to fire his agent after this is strange at best.
I think there's a lot of fans reading too much into this in the sense that the timing was interesting, of course. And first of all, there's no crying in baseball. I mean, the dude has cried like 14 times. Even the Braves fans around me, real quick, they were like, okay, we get it. But it would be disingenuous to embrace LA right away. I don't think it's a reflection of wanting to be in Atlanta or wanting to be in LA. I mean, imagine you're in a relationship with a girl and you have a counselor, you're listening to somebody for 15 years. You know that, she's going to move. Should we stay with her or not? Suddenly you don't know anything. Nobody's talking to you. Counselor isn't. She cuts ties. Then she waits. Then she brings a new dude on board and hangs you out to dry. I think we have to embrace it like that sense as a relationship. And yeah, I don't think his reps were fully open with Freddie. He had issues with Alex Anthopoulos. They obviously talked it out. And, Anthopoulos, I think, told him some of the, and that's a straightforward, honest guy, what really happened, what his representation was saying. And after speaking with Anthopoulos, after going to Atlanta, I think, it just made him mad how everything carried out and how his agent had done that. But no, I mean, he's stoked to be in LA again, where he's from. But, he said it's closure, and this was probably closure. And now we're moving forward.
Brandon, a good point, Roger. Brendan, the only thing I can think of in football is there've been some moves made over the years that just were heart-wrenching almost to watch. Joe Montana in a Kansas City Chief uniform. O.J. Simpson, yes, he did it, but O.J. Simpson in a San Francisco 49er uniform.
Yes,
Allegedly, Randall.
Allen in a Chiefs uniform.
O.J. did it.
Allegedly.
Joe Namath as a Los Angeles Ram. Freddie is not that. He still has many years of good football or baseball left. So does he have time? Well, I know he does. Will they become a legacy of Freddie Freeman in LA? And at some point in 2028, does the Braves bring him back and still put that statue out between Chipper and Hank Aaron and say, here you go, Freddie?
I mean, I can see that potentially happening in the latter years. Kind of like some football players like to go back to their team for a day and retire as, their original. But we saw this, when McNair went to Baltimore and, other situations as well. Again, I think there was some misrepresentation there. Remember when this story broke, we were all talking about, well, it looked like Freddie was wanting a long-term deal. And just could not settle with the Braves for a shorter term deal. So, that was the whole talk initially. And now, timing of this comes out, and I don't know if it's clickbait or what's going on with some of the reporting about them not quite getting along, maybe him not getting all the facts. If you're a lifetime Brave guy and you're basically a god in Atlanta, I'm pretty sure what's going on with your deal. I wouldn't fully, when it's this kind of hinge point in your career, I wouldn't fully trust just your representation. I would think you have some say in it. So who knows? We're all speculating here and trying to read between the lines. But I think it was a form of closure, after talking with the GM. But yes, could he have a two-part legacy and be great on both teams? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Real quick, I will be quick. Brandon, that's a great point that it was so public. And yes, Freddie Freeman did have to or should have known what was going on. He said nothing. And yeah, so that does him throwing his agent under the bus. No, it was public. We talked about his negotiations.
Exactly. We knew it was going on. So he definitely knew it was going on.
Yeah, or he was just idiotic, and you shouldn't be like that in your career.
I doubt he's idiotic.
Guys, this is the last word I'll say about. I probably won't ever talk about Freddie Freeman's legacy in Atlanta again. I'm kind of over it, but I do think the moment with Acuna at first base said more than we know. Ronald Acuna wants to be the leader of the Atlanta Braves and wants the club and wants the locker room to follow him. His legacy demands that he becomes the alpha male of the Atlanta Braves. So the words that got said between Freddie and Acuna, I don't know if they were actually not in bad spirit, but the fact that they kind of publicly hugged it out at first base to me meant more than anything. As a Braves fan, two of my favorite Braves of all time, I just put it aside. And yes, Freddie, we're all tired of you crying. We've got to put an end to it. I love you, buddy, but you got to quit crying. You made me cry. All right.
But like Freeman in this situation with the agent, the Acuna thing got blown out of proportion. There is a language barrier there, among other things. The question was asked in an interesting way. I think it was totally blown out of proportion. And it was nice to see that, though.
And Atlanta is a very Latin America, a very Latin flavored team. Spanish is very spoken in the Atlanta locker room and dugout. And I questioned the language barrier myself because Atlanta is one of the few teams I don't think that insist on players kind of becoming fluent in English. Soler last year said Atlanta was different in that, when he got there, he felt like he was in an environment that was similar to Cuba and, that he could embrace his Latin American exchange or culture. So that's a good point. Very good.
Signed Japanese dudes in 20 years ago, Hideo Nomo and whatnot. It's just a part of baseball. It's an international sport, and to do anything otherwise would be ignorant.
All right, I'm gonna lay claim to my bet you're nuts. Actually, I posted it. It was tonight. Kyle Wright goes out, and as I've said on the show multiple times, Kyle Wright throws one earned run, gives up one earned run, pushes his record with another win. Quality start. The Braves are on fire when Kyle Wright pitches. And also, so today being Wednesday, he should get another start next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, I believe they're in Philly. Again, I will not go against Kyle Wright. He lost one for us last week, but this week just picked up the big win, give up one earned, and Kyle Wright at the Braves. My bet you're nut every week. I'm going to give you a side one that's on the NFL futures. And this one I think is a little different. I'm going to give you, I think it was at plus 400, the Denver Broncos to win the AFC West. The Denver Broncos to win the AFC West. Brendan Shane, what do you got for us tonight?
We'll go to this Saturday, UFC 276. Israel Adesanya is going to pull off the win here against Jared Cannonier. I can't. Cannonier. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't pull my screen over fast enough.
It's sad when I can pronounce something better than you. I'm just going to call
it. I didn't know what his last name was. I couldn't pull my screen over. Whatever. It's all good. No, I like that. I know one of our buddies on our group thread said that Cannonier's going to
knock out
Sandra. He's faster. He's got the length. They're the same weight. I just don't see it happening. I think this is kind of a setup win for him as well. I mean, they're
I agree with
38. Israel's 32. Israel's 6'3". This dude's 5'9", 80-inch reach versus 77.5. I mean, the stats are there. Now, there's always a puncher's chance for sure. We know that. And this guy does have knockout power. I just think Israel's a little too fast for him. So
I like that pick. Raj, there was a good series in Atlanta this weekend. The Braves are so banged up. I don't know if we'll get to see it again in the playoffs. But
we have way bigger injuries than the Braves. So none of that excuse crap.
Really, there's a guy named Mike Soroka. There's a guy named Ozzy Albies. Eddie Mario just got Acuna back. I don't think the Braves. I put it this way: the Phillies are playing the Mets are playing so well. I'm not sure they won't be so far ahead by the Braves by midseason that they. I just hope we get the series. I'd like to see Braves-Dodger 3. I just don't know if we're going to get it. What is your bet?
Dodgers, by the way, the Dodgers have more missed games and different players playing than anybody else in baseball. I can go down the list, but just
I got one question real quick, Raj. I got one question for you. Why can the Dodgers not score runs when Clay Shaw's pitching? What is going on there?
It's always been the case. That's just kind of baseball. The ebb and flow of the game. When usually Kershaw's keeping it low, like 1 or 2, it's a pitching duel, and the other pitcher steps it up, going against Kershaw. He has the lowest run support. I mean, probably.
No kidding. I had their team total over 6.5 yesterday, and was quite disappointed.
Now they have 7 on the board right now with Freeman on fire again, 2 for 3.
I would be amiss, though, if we didn't mention that Kinsley Jennings hits the DL again with heart issues. And, of course, that's bigger than baseball. Hopefully it's minor again. They're talking about having to do another procedure on his heart. And that's scary anytime they mess with a man's heart.
It's happened before. So wish him the best. My bet your nuts was going to be Dodger centric as well. They have 7 right now and counting, of course. Yesterday, nothing in Colorado, I was down for the series real quick in Atlanta for all 3 games. All 3 were night games, which was sensational because usually the Sunday game is a 1:00 game and it's the worst ever. It's 110 degrees. I'm usually hungover, but no, it was a lot of fun. Got to see all the emotional stuff, and the Dodgers won 2 out of 3 despite being really banged up. So I was all right with it. Bet your nuts. We were talking about NFL overs. I looked on Vegas Insider, and there's 2 that I like. One is the Giants under 7.5 wins. I just don't see it. They had a nice draft. That's the one I'm going 7.5 on Vegas Insider from what I saw, which is crazy to me. The other one, it's tough to bet on anything this high, but I saw Cincinnati at 9 or 9.5. And, I think that team is just getting better. They got La'el Collins. The line's not a weakness anymore. Burrow's sensational. So I would take the Giants at 7.5 under, the Bengals at 9.5 over.
I think football record prediction, you will hear me say the Bengals will either be a 13-14 win team, or suffer the early Super Bowl hangover. And I just can't see it happening. That division is such a mess. Outside of Baltimore, do you really have anybody that can compete with them in the division?
Yeah, they're getting 4 wins with Cleveland and Pittsburgh right there.
In Baltimore, they don't really have a receiving core right now.
Mark Andrews is really their receiving core.
That's what I'm saying. What are they really going to do? Let Lamar run around all day?
But compared to the train wreck that is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns, you got to think at least Baltimore is the second best team in the division. Robbie Davis, the man, the myth, the NASCAR legend, How may I help you, sir?
So I have admittedly been a disaster with these new age cars.
Robbie, we would all like you to stop picking races because I can't afford it, and we've agreed to bet on each other.
The drivers, they don't have a handle on them. No one has a handle on them. But I can tell you this thing.
I'm going to tell you this. My child's not going to college if you don't start picking races right.
All right. I've got you. So we're in Wisconsin. It's going to be chillier. It's going to be still hot, but not crazy hot. The favorite has not won all year long. The big guys aren't winning. So I'm taking number one, bet your nuts. I'm giving you a number one and a reserve if you want to get risky. Number one, if you like your money, take Ross Chastain. He's 8-1. He's been winning in this new car. If you want more money and you don't want that 8-1, if you want 15-1, Christopher Bell also has won on this new car. The big dogs have not won. Don't waste your money on Denny Hamlin.
Kyle Larson.
Do not waste your money on Kyle Larson, for God's sakes.
Dale Earnhardt.
So it's a whole new. So
I want to clarify.
Wait. Hold on. Let me just, for the people that aren't familiar with NASCAR, when I say new car, they have changed so we've just lost all of our audience, right? So they have changed their entire car. It went from 4 lug nuts to just 1 lug nut in the center of the car. And so it changes the pit crew. It changes who's specialized in this thing. And it's essentially the Wild Wild West. So the little guys have a chance. So Ross Chastain, 8-1. And then Christopher Bell, 15-1.
NASCAR is college football with NLI.
Yeah, it is almost.
So me and my friend Phil Harris are starting on a radio station in South Pittsburgh, and we're going to invite you on because that's the one place we could talk NASCAR and you could improve our ratings.
Yeah, well, I'm always available.
We'll talk NASCAR. You could talk because right now every time you talk NASCAR,
my goal in life is to work 1 more hour every day than Chain works, and so basically I'm always available.
Speaking of the Ben Hogan flight champion, I believe we have to have a little summary of what flight that is and what did y'all shoot?
Second flight, and it's not a score per se. So you play. It's 2 days. It's match play. So there's no real score. You just win the hole. You
this is like Brandon in fantasy. It's not really how many Titans you have per se. It's just what the overall team looks like.
No. So the first day you come out, you play 3 9-hole matches against obviously 3 different teams.
Scramble?
No. You play your own ball. It's a low ball score. So best score out of your team. And then the second day you play 2 holes or 2 9-hole matches, and then you go to a shootout. So, yeah, we won. So it was nice. Good member guest.
All right, guys. Of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't have our final words. This was a great show, considering that I didn't stay on format. Raj was late as always. Change mic didn't work, and Robbie's fiddling with his monitors, and my lights kept going off. We had a good show. We kept our audience above 4 or 5 the whole time. But what can I mark? We made it through a June show. We'll start. Who wants to go first with closing words?
I will.
I don't have.
So this week has been extremely tough for me and my wife. As a professional and let me back up. This has nothing to do with sports. This has to do with life. With me and my wife and actually my profession also. As we all know, the Supreme Court made a ruling that changed fundamental rights for people, for women. And whether you believe in abortion on any level or no level, this has fundamentally changed a 38 and a 37-year-old's choice to try to get pregnant or not, because the life of a mother is now on the chopping block. And so this is dangerous, and this has consequences. And so for me, as a white male, this has consequences because my wife now cannot risk it or may not want to risk it because she could die, right? And so this is important things to think about. And this isn't a political show. This is a life show. This is y'all's view of me is looking into my life. And so it's important for me to think about things and vote and think about this isn't just necessarily about kids' lives. It's about people's lives and the danger that comes with these things and not letting doctors decide, because doctors go to med school and they know what they're talking about and they can decide what's best for people, whether it's the mother or the child. And I don't want to turn any viewers off for our show because I don't know what our viewership is anyways. And this is not being political. This is just being concerned with, if you're my age, you're in the danger age. And I know Raj, well, I'm not going to go to Raj's life. I won't disclose Raj's life. That's up to him. But if you're in the older 30s, lower 40s, and you're trying to have a kid, and can you put your wife, your loved one at risk, knowing that it could be two people dying? That's just scary. And so I want everyone to take a step back and get less political and get more scientifical and get more doctor-related input. And don't listen to me because I'm not a doctor. I look at medical records. I've done research, but I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me. I'm not the person to listen to. But just think about consequences of a 10-year-old girl, a 14-year-old girl, a 48-year-old girl, or someone that just wants to have a kid and finds the right person at 42, but it's dangerous. Like, these all things happen. And it just sucks, right? Like, I'm not against states' rights. I'm just against, let's don't be the state that goes over the top to be the over the top state. Let's think about things. The world's just changed and rights have been taken away, and let's just think about them and think about how we want to be as a state, as a people, because now the states decide, and we have to preach safety and humanity, and they can coincide. It doesn't have to be one or the other. They can be together. And that's what we want, or that's what I want. They can all, no one has to speak on this, but this was just my topic for the night. And like, again, we're not a political show, but this was a huge change in the world, and it affects me right now.
Robbie,
Nothing to say for me. That was beautifully said. I echo those sentiments 100%. So that was my final word, courtesy of Rob, because that was sensationally put.
the beauty of no matter where you stand, you said it. You challenged everybody to be informed on their opinion. That is my biggest thing I stand on is do not have an opinion on anything you're not informed of. And I thought that was well put also. Raj, do you not have anything you want to follow up with?
No, I think Robbie said it best, and there's nothing I can add about
Brandon,
any.
go ahead with your point or your subject tonight.
Wow. after that, it's a tough one to follow.
Just made a very moving.
No, I know. I mean, just to kind of reiterate, yeah, regardless of your side, just don't clickbait and read a headline and think that's the truth. I mean, do your own research. That's all. That's all. Just whatever side you're on, do your own research. And, like I said, it's a political show, regardless if that's it even applies in sports or anything else. I mean, just do your own research. Don't just read a headline and think that's the fact.
So I hate to bring up my subject after that, but I am, because I think it's equally important too. Prior to this show, again, it's going to get slightly political, but I don't mean it to be political. Again, it's not the same subject, but I did an interview with the head coach at Marion County. His name is Tim Starkey, and he's an African-American, and he's the first African-American head coach in the Sequatchie Valley in history. And I interviewed Coach Starkey, and I got to the end of it, and I was going to be politically correct, and I was going to ask him about being the first African-American coach in Sequatchie Valley and what it meant to him. And Coach Starkey embarrassed me almost by the answer he gave, which was, I haven't thought about it because I'm living my life and I'm a member of this community, and that's what I care about most. Coach Starkey really set an example in that little minute of, I think even what Robbie's talking about is being human in the moment and being bigger than life. And Coach Starkey always had my respect, but that interview I just did with him a few minutes ago, I left with wanting to be more of a human being. And that's nice when someone in sports or your fellow showmate can challenge you to be a better man. And I applaud both Coach Starkey and Robbie, and I often do not agree politically, but Robbie Davis, I would fight to the death for what you just said and believe in every word of it. So congratulations. Well said, my friend.
Thank you.
I got nothing else. After that, I kind of feel like bad about myself as a human. Evidently, I'm still stuck in 1968, and I don't know what life's about. But it was a good show. Anybody got anything else on sports-related notes you want to close out with, or are we just going to the house?
I don't have anything sports related, but I have a shameless plug. Davis, Kessler, and Davis is one of the nominees for Best of the Best personal injury firms in Chattanooga. So if you can go to bestofchat1t.com and vote for Davis, Kessler, and Davis as the best personal injury firm, I'd really appreciate it.
And if anyone out there has extra kerosene, great law firm, represented Randall and I before. And if anyone out there has extra kerosene, please donate it to Randall so he can fill up his lamps.
Yeah.
It's
Kessler
blowing out. It's a windy night.
The Davis Kessler and Davis ad is running on Facebook, RiverCity-Media. I just got to release it with this show. So if you want to know where to go, Robbie and his firm released it. Will be up and running too. And I do need.
And we appreciate your votes, even if we haven't served you yet. Hopefully, we never have to, but we will treat you with the best customer service and care we can.
Robbie, I'm
not obviously tell I'm passionate about the Constitution.
Yes, I'm not even sure how you need clients outside the 11 other members of our fantasy football team. I mean, really,
y'all don't pay enough.
That's true. That's true. You get your pro bono work in on this group, I'm sure.
I know. I have to fill out my pro bono work every year. I'm like 10,000 hours. I was like, oh.
Randall Cunningham. Hey, and what's even better is we all sit around and wait for our friend Blake. We just hope that he doesn't need Robbie's services because that's going to be ugly with 73 kids. For Randall Cunningham, reckless speculation. Again, a show that is the truth, the honest truth, and nothing more but the honest truth. Join us next week. Good night.